Hey, good listeners. Popping on here to do something very exciting. I'm going to do a quantum birth chart reading today on YouTube Live. And right before I press record, I was like, oh, I think this is the first time that I'm going to do a quantum birth chart reading on my YouTube channel. If you've been following me for a while, you might have heard me speak about the quantum birth chart before, but haven't actually done an official reading on my YouTube channel on that yet. So we're going to do that today. So I'm going to be on live this month in November with oracle readings for Earth Honoring Economies. So I'm going to call this series Oracle Readings for Earth Honoring Economies. And so basically I'm just going to be showing up and doing oracle readings with different parts of my specialty services. And this is specifically for, folks who are part of this wave of building, nurturing, birthing, um, earth honoring villages, right? And economies on every side of the altar, right? So what does it mean to create an economy, not just materially with material resources, but also spiritually, also interpersonally, also politically, um, culturally, on every realm. So folks who are a part of that wave, these oracle readings are for you. Um, so I want to do the first quantum birth chart reading I'm going to do is for the 1111 portal. So it's November 10th right now. It's 6:33. So we're almost at my special number, which is 638. um, but yeah, tomorrow is 1111. And so I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not do a quantum birth chart reading? So what the heck is that, right? Okay. So if you follow astrology, you might know a little bit about the birth chart, right? So I have, a practice with astrology readings. I read people's birth charts the normal way for 15 years. Um, And so when you read a birth chart, right, there's all these things that you look at. You look at where the planets are, where the house placements are, what the aspects are, transits, and you start to create a picture and a story of what's going on for someone. So when we read the quantum birth chart, this is basically emerged from my ancestor healing journey and from my decolonizing ancestor healing journey and from my um, practice and commitment to build communion and relationship with really, really old ancestors who were not interrupted by decolonization. Sorry, they were not interrupted by colonization. So I have ancestors in me who did certain things in a way of the thriving village, right? From how they raised kids to how they were artists, from how they read, performed astrology. And so those ancestors I still have within me. And so I study with them. I've been studying with them for a long time. Especially over the last 5 years, I sort of took a hiatus from doing, public birth chart readings and client-centered birth chart readings in 2020. And since then, I've been going deeper into my own stuff, but also like apprenticing this deeper technology of like, how did these ancient ancestors perform astrology? How did they do astrology? How did they read a birth chart? And so the thing is, what happens when you go deeper into your ancestor healing journey, your consciousness expands, right? And your memory deepens. And so, people have experiences of like, oh, you start to see more things, right? Your clair senses come online, right? Clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever. That's what happens. You start to be able to listen and see and interpret information in an expanded way and in a deepened way. Um, and so when I look at the birth chart, I'm not just looking at, um, what modern day, astrology systems will tell you to look at. We expand to the quantum realm. And so when I look at the quantum realm, I'm looking at what quantum matter is present in a birth chart, along with all the other stuff, you know, the planets and the configurations and whatever. So this is a really cool practice. How I do it is whether I'm looking at an event or a period of time or a day, like I am in this video, or if I'm looking at someone's individual birth chart, the first thing that I will do is I'll just, you know, go into my channel and I'll open my third eye and I'll look at what part of the quantum birth chart is speaking, what part is emerging, what part am I seeing? And so I'll see something. And that's the very first part of doing this type of reading is you just open your eye and you see what you see. And then, you know, I'll sort of have maybe some initial insights around what I'm seeing. But the first question I ask is, what kind of quantum matter am I looking at before I do any interpretation? And so when I say what kinds of quantum matter show up in the birth chart, I'm saying I could see an equation, I could see a riddle, I could see a parable, um, I could see uh, a conundrum, and each of these quantum matters are slightly different. They have a different operating system, if you will. Um, and so whatever I'm seeing, the very first thing to do is sort of break down what the heck is that? What does it mean? What is that quantum matter? How does it function? And what does it mean to look at that in a birth chart? And then you interpret and you kind of break it open in terms of like, why is it speaking to you? Why is it emerging in the birth chart at this time? Um, And the thing is that there isn't an already set number of things that could be in a birth chart. And then the part of the beauty of doing this kind of reading is that I will see different things all the time. You know, part of the reading is me studying. Oh my gosh, I've never seen that before, you know. And so in my studies, I was like, what is that? Oh, it's an equation. Oh, how is an equation different than a riddle, for example? And then part of the reading is actually breaking that open, and that is part of the interpretation, that is part of the medicine that wants to come out. Okay? So I'll be honest that before I hopped on, I already saw the first image. Sometimes I can't turn it off. The minute I start thinking about doing a reading, I'll see the image and I'm like, "Wait." So I took a little bit of notes, but the first thing that I saw when I tuned into the quantum birth chart of this 1111 portal is that I saw a bridge. I saw a gateway. Um, I saw it was almost like I'm looking at it from an eagle's view, and I'm looking at it and it's kind of small because I'm looking from above. But I see a bridge and with sort of a golden sort of golden gate on it, and I knew right away that I was seeing a gateway, that that's the quantum matter that wants to come up as saying, this is the part of the birth chart that wants to be illuminated today for the 1111 portal. It is a gateway. And so then I had to ask myself, oh, okay, so what does it mean for a gateway to show up in a birth chart? For example, if I were talking to an individual and I was reading their birth chart and I saw, oh, you have a gateway in your birth chart. Well, what would that mean for an individual to have a gateway in a birth chart? And I sat with it for a second. I was like, what does that mean? And it clicked. It means you have a way out. What is a gateway, right? And this is important to think about because 1111 is a gateway. It's a very potent gateway because it's number one. Number one is it's a very when we have a 1111, it's very much like just the action of opening a door. It's like the door's open, go through it type deal. And so when you have a gateway in your personal birth chart, you have a way out of something. You have a bridge that is already built. And you just have to travel it. And so when I say you have a way out, you have a way out of something that um that people before you didn't have a way out of. That people before you, the generation before you, or whatever energy has come before you, they could only survive it. They didn't have a way out. It was something that, you know, wasn't good, let's say, or it wasn't useful, it wasn't serving. Let's not use the word useful. It wasn't serving, it was painful, it was injustice, it was whatever, right? It was something that people didn't want to be in. But they didn't have a way out legitimately. And so the only option that people could come up with in that scenario is to build really, really strong um, coping mechanisms that turned into habits, that turned into projects, that turned into institutions, that turned into industries, that turned into whole fucking systems to survive it. So people had to create systems to survive it because they didn't have a way out. When you have a gateway in your birth chart, it means you have a way out of something that the previous energy did not have a way out of. And so what we're saying when we have a gateway in the birth chart is you have a bridge that's already built. You don't have to build it. You just have to travel it. And that is scary. It's terrifying. It can be incredibly lonely. It is not comfortable and it's not familiar. And yeah, because you have to be the one to go. You have to be the one to get out. It's more familiar to stay in that coping mechanism, right? And so where that gateway is in your birth chart represents, it tells us something about like um what house that's in represents where you have a way out of something. For example, if your gateway's in the third house of siblings, um, early childhood education, right? It means that the way people learn something about school, something about school, school systems or sibling dynamics have always been sort of the same thing, and you have a way out. And I relate to this a lot, right? It's just about, the emergence of mystery schools, right? If I want to be a teacher, which is associated with the third house, um, but I don't want to do it in this colonial school system, I have a way out. I have a way out to do that differently. So that would be an interpretation of the gateway in the third house. Um, in the fourth house, yeah, very much, you're probably maybe your parents, like uh really like core family dynamics, like you're the outlier, you're the dangerous one, you're the unfamiliar one. You have to do things differently from your family, your parents. Um, in the sixth house, this could be about job and your work situation. In the 10th house, it could be about career, right? So maybe everyone else in your family had to, was stuck in one sort of career um, sort of expression, but you're the one who has a way out and gets to do it differently. But it is yeah, like I said, it's not easy to be that because you have to be the bad guy. You have to break things you have to break the survival mechanism open, which is very can be dangerous around the wrong people, right? And you have to be the dangerous one. in where you're coming from. But the thing to remember here is like this bridge is already built. And when I say all you have to do is travel it, I mean that you've already won. Th- the win is assured. It's certain because the bridge is right there and it's not we're not talking about the Titanic here. It's not going to sink. Not me just randomly decided to watch Titanic the other day. I don't know, something about the Titanic pulled me into a portal. We'll talk about it later. I was like, this movie. Anyway, no, the bridge is sound. And see, we could say that, the previous energy was just stuck, but actually what they were doing, even in, creating all these survival mechanisms and coping mechanisms to survive the thing, there's always something in the energy that's pushing things forward, making something, dismantling something, doing surgery. They were building the bridge and now it's built. So you don't have to do that work. But because you have to travel it, it feels like you're losing because you have to learn how to tend to the grief. You have to learn how to take care of that. You have to learn how to feel everything, right? You you have to learn um you have to learn how to venerate it, right? You have to be that person to learn how to take everything and compost what you need and keep what you need. Like you have to be the one to learn how to move now in places where people couldn't move. And you have to learn how to live in places where others could only survive. And in the process of doing that, in the process of traveling, it feels like you're losing, right? Because it's just a very emotional experience and genuinely difficult, right? You could be in danger, like I said, or if you're trying to thrive in the wrong environments with energy that just wants to keep you down in that survival, um, it could be dangerous to be you, right? So, but your task truly is to travel that gateway. It's for you. The old thing isn't for you. Um, and in that it feels like you're losing, especially if you feel that loneliness, that isolation, that like quote unquote black sheep, right? Um, but you have to remember that all of this is about the win. Like all of this is the win. So keep going. Keep going. Okay. So if I was speaking to someone who, had who I'm seeing in their quantum birth chart, oh, you have a gateway in this area of life. That's what I would say this indicates, right? So from birth, we would be able to say, like, oh, look, that gateway is in your 11th house of community and friendship circles. You will have to learn how to travel in places that go against, the DNA um, that you might have been instilled with as a child in your childhood friendships. You have to go and get those friendships that are going to heal your heart, but you have to travel to do that. You can't keep cycling around the old kind of friendship dynamic. You have to go. And we would have been able to see that from birth, that's one of your big lessons you're here to learn. Um, to have access to a gateway is a gift. It's a privilege. Uh-huh. It's a privilege, and you have to make use of it, even when it's hard. So, okay, so that's what we would kind of talk about if we saw this gateway in a personal birth chart, but what does it mean to look at it as a collective birth chart? Okay, so we're looking at the birth chart of 11/11 of tomorrow, um, when I'm recording this for November 11th. So what does that mean? Well, I was like, to have a gateway in the collective birth chart versus an individual birth chart. The first thing that's coming up for me is the message is sort of that we are in each other's way. Y- When that, like, I feel like that is such a truth that I've been seeing and feeling, and that I just like, yes, this is what I want to communicate. Like, this is what I've been feeling, that we're in each other's way. And I'm saying that because I've been feeling that just by like kind of being a person who's navigating community in some way. And just feeling that, like, of all the hearts who are like, yes, earth honoring economy, yes, like, yes, so dedicated to your healing journey, yes, like, on this road, yes, we are weaving together, yes, we are collaborating together. And also there's this thing where I'm like, we're in each other's way in some way, like, it feels like we're not able to connect and collaborate as well as we could be right now. And when I think about why and how that's happening, like, this is where it's landing. That even on an energetic level is like we're trying to collaborate, but it's almost like there are all these squares. Instead of like weaving together, we're bumping into each other like squares. Not, square like, like you're a square, not like that. I mean like like bumper cars. And so how do I explain what I mean when I say we're in each other's way? I mean, okay, like if you personally have a gateway in your birth chart, then it means, that you're the outlier and maybe, your family of origin or like whatever, like your relationships. It's like someone else is the antagonist. But if this is a collective reading, that means we are our own antagonists, right? Because um we are all given access to that gateway. And that means the energy that's holding us back is also in all of us, right? We are all carrying the past energy and expressing that through our daily choices or interactions with each other, etc., that needed to survive the old thing and didn't have any other choice but to survive the old thing. And we also have the gateway. We also have the way out. And so as we are trying to find the way out, we are also like being the antagonist. Like we're being the same energy that could only survive it. We are both. Okay? So we are all each other's worst nightmare, and we are all each other's dream come true. That's what it means to have a gateway in the collective birth chart. Isn't that wild? So, if I were to bring up an interpretation of what it means to look at this gateway showing up for our 1111 portal. It's to say, make a choice, make a good one, choose. Are you going to stay? Are you going to be the antagonist to the options that are available to you? Woo! That's a word. That's the question for today. Are you going to be the antagonist to the options that are available to you? It's a question for all of us to ask ourselves. That bridge has been built. We we built it and we have to travel it. We're both. You know, and maybe not you specifically, but lots in you. The past and the future. That's what this moment is about. It's that protagonist antagonist battle, and the two main characters are your past and your future. And so what are you going to do right now? What choice are you going to make? Who are you going to throw the gauntlet to? Who are you going to pass the sword to? Right? Your past or your future? Give it to your future. Or, wield it yourself and say, you're my I'm going to listen to your advice more than I'm going to listen to past Shanga. Past life Shanga, she has some good poetry. She'll entertain you, that's for sure. But she doesn't quite have the way out. I'm gonna leave it there for now. I feel like we got enough of a word today. Um, that's enough for today. See, past Shanga says, okay, what else can we tell them? But future Shanga says that's enough. That's enough. But I'll be back. I'll be back. If not every day, then I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna try and be on here quite often as I this November, as I um yeah, am doing promo for my next event, which is a really amazing circle that I'm hosting with my incredible friend Raven, who you've seen on this channel in the past few videos. So we're hosting a circle um, for game changers, and this is a safe passage ceremony. Um, and it's on December 6th. And part of what we're going to be doing is just sharing. This is a chance to share sort of what's going on, a chance to share and reflect. What's going on, where do you need safe passage support, what concerns are on your heart, what are your visions, what are you seeing. I just want a chance for game changers to get together and sit in circle. And part of this circle, I'll be doing some live oracle readings for a few, as many people as we have time for in the time that we have. And so people who snag VIP seats will get first priority. If you want to come off mute, it'll be on Zoom, online, and come off mute, and I'll do an oracle reading for you. And, we can choose one of my specialty services like this quantum astrology or and a number of other things. So throughout November, I'm going to be popping on live and sharing, the way that I do readings. So you can decide if you want to come. And this, event is also part of this big mission dream campaign that I'm running to bring a vision and practice of village funding into life, into reality. And so we're organizing our sort of ticket structure around that initiative. And so that's basically, it's time for us to start, funding each other. um, through village practices. It's time for us to get the funding we really need for our projects, our livelihoods, and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? We have the power to do that ourselves. In terms of I've been studying a lot of money moving practices um, and strategic practices around what I'm calling visionary mutual aid. And so this is a way of exchanging money with each other. It's a new kind of business model um, to really support the truth of what our lives are like. If we're on this, journey of creating an earth honoring economy, what does that actually look like financially? So this is part of this whole project. And so when you make an offering towards this village funding project, then you will get access to our what we're calling our investors appreciation event, which is this safe passage ceremony on December 6th. And yeah, we'd love to just share a really special space with folks during that time with some live oracle readings. Yeah, so you can check out, what that is all about. I've written a letter um, today, sort of inviting people into this practice and into the event, into the circle. So you can read that and learn more about it and keep tuning in as I'll be doing more readings throughout November and beyond. All right. See you next time. Peace.